special meeting. I would like to wish you all to be order at 30. I'll do roll call. Chairman Ketzel is present. Vice Chair, are you on Zoom?
Yes, thank you.
Your mic's off. Yeah, she said I didn't.
Oh, you can turn it on if you want to keep it on. They're just
Okay, can you hear her?
I can hear, yeah.
Commissioner Heck,
Present.
Commissioner Jones.
Present.
Okay, first item is a general public comment. This is the time that, is there anyone on Zoom?
So Cynthia Mala and Ben Kramer are both on Zoom, and Cynthia Mala does have a question to
A
ask.
general public comment time, so if you have a comment. Yeah. Well, actually, even if it's on the agenda today, Cynthia, do you have a question? Yes.
And like that's the question. So I can read what her question is.
It says, what will you use for the low water lawn? So it looks like that's gonna be related to our discussion item tonight. And we'll respond to that at that time. Does that sound okay?
Okay, we will respond to that. And the next item is minutes. If you have a chance to look at it. Discussion on the minutes. Questions? No? Anyone like to? Question is written. I'll make a motion that we start the minutes.
And I second that.
Like, seconded by Commissioner Peck to approve the draft minutes for the meeting held on March 18th, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next is discussion items only, no action will be taken, and the one discussion item is on GD park plan. Yes.
How's that? Is that better? Okay. Thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate your accommodations to our no meeting, meeting and meeting change time. And not throwing rocks at us. I appreciate that. So we're here tonight to talk about the Salnamanjini Park. I have a few updates for you. One of them being that we have decided on a contractor for the project. It will be Fan Contracting. We are waiting for a few updates on their costing for the park. And then we will enter into a contract with them that will go to council for approval. So they were recommended. We're going through Gordian, which is a state procurement company that will help us, that allows us to not have to go to the bid process. So that's very time saving, and the companies that have gone through that process have been vetted and have to give us the best price on the park elements that they can get for us and meet the criteria to be a part of Gordian. So we're really excited to have that. We've met with them already, and again, they're getting the cost together and what they see this the park costing. We did get information from the project manager, our engineering firm who costed out most of the items for us. And we did have an overage, as we expected that things were going to cost more than when we priced them out in 2021, when we first began choosing the items that we would have in the park. And so based on that, you have in front of you can you put up the park plan? So we did make some adjustments based on the overage or the extended cost. and because of the public comment that we received, we removed had the engineers remove the pickleball courts. And that freed up that space for us to be able to relocate the zip line over closer to the big kids playground. So all of our play area is more condensed and not so spread out. And so that's what we're going to use that space for. Let's see, what do we got next? Then we also, I don't think we had any other main changes. Did you all get a chance to look at the packet? And do you have it? Please let me know if you have any questions as I'm going through any of this. It's best to address it as we have it. Did you have any questions about the plan as it was changed? That was basically the only change. There were a few. The landscape architect added some pavers in places that we didn't have them before, and those actually aren't in our budget, so we're working on deciding how we're going to cover that. But they were just some aesthetic areas that he thought would be really nice. So we'll see how that ends up. But otherwise, everything else is the same. We are, I want to talk about the pavilion. Is that going to mess you up if I go there? Okay. The pavilion, the main thing that we're trying to decide on the pavilion at this point is the seating. We had talked about having seating within, some type of seating within the inside area. And so we've been back and forth with the landscape architect on this. And his recommendation is wood. We just know how Arizona and wood is. We have wood elements in the exercise equipment at Copper Penny Park, and that's just not really going very well. And so this was initially the style. That particular one, a little out of our budget. So we're going to more of a basic that will be the same shape, but it will just have metal posts and not the pretty rock like we would like. But the seating situation is really what we're trying to determine. And we thought, and you all can weigh in on this, but we thought that the wood was not a good choice. So Shell's been doing some research and came up with some alternate ideas. We had talked about stone benches in there, and Barnabas, the landscape architect, kind of talked us out of that because they could be in the way and we wouldn't easily be able to move them. So we ran across this today. Shell found this, and kind of like this idea that's not taking up so much space. It could just be maybe around 2 of the pillars might be an option. We did have money in our budget for the seating. This would also match up with the pavers if we end up doing the pavers. So we like the idea of the pavers because they're more permeable than the concrete. We just can't afford to do the entire park with it. Hence, we went with the concrete. Were there any other images we have there? Yeah. Yeah, so this is in Tempe, Scottsdale. Yeah, and so they just actually put out this metal furniture in their pavilion and people can move it around, sit wherever they want. Our challenge might be that they will blow over, that somebody will walk away with them. They'd be really hard to secure and then be able to move if we wanted to be able to use the space in a bigger way. So just some ideas there. Any thoughts? Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, Joni, about that, I mean, I guess it's one thing that we come back to fairly often is like the idea of theft or vandalism. I mean, is that becoming more or less prevalent in parks? I mean, when you talk to other parks professionals, like, is that something that they're worrying more about, kind of the chaining down tables and chairs and that sort of stuff because they're being taken away, or is that more like, or is that just less common? I guess when we were down in I want to say it was Scottsdale or somewhere at the Scottsdale Center for the Arts and Town Hall. They had all their chairs just kind of out like unsecured, and I wonder if that's an ongoing problem or people are mostly leaving those in place since they're common spaces.
That's a really good question. In our community, we have been very lucky and have you were the witness of the worst vandal that we had in the park.
Well, I'd rather not talk about that again.
I know, it was very traumatic.
Yeah.
But we honestly haven't had a lot of issue with that. It's just not necessarily something that we want to
Or-
take our chances with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And something more permanent, again, that is kind of off to the side, allows still for the use of the interior space of the pavilion, seems like it might be a better option. And it kind of adds that beautification element to the pavilion instead of just having the basic posts. Obviously, we wouldn't do this around the entire pavilion because we want that front space to be open. We want people to be able to pass through, but I think it's a potential good option for a couple of areas, maybe 2 corners, or not
Yeah.
that there's corners because it's an odd shape. But to finish to completely answer your question, I honestly wouldn't be that worried about them being about the tables and chairs being there. I mean, I would be willing to take our chances. I don't think they're super expensive. It's kind of like some other things that we take a chance with, like the viewing scope that we're putting at the
River
Lower
access point.
Tapco site. Yeah. I mean, hopefully that's a very expensive piece of equipment. Hopefully it doesn't get ruined, but even out at the Tapco and Tuzagu River access points, we don't have a lot. We've got a little bit of graffiti usually. I think we had a sign that they thought maybe somebody ran over, but it really was the wind and stuff like that. So not a
Okay.
not a lot of concern.
Thank you.
Could I ask how big those are, those benches? I was just curious.
You could ask that.
I
I don't know. It was an image that we saw. And so we would really need to work with the landscape architect now to add them into the contractor. Honestly, the contractor, we're kind of at a place now where the design has been done. The construction drawings are going to be done in conjunction with working with the contractor, and the contractor will be able to work with us on details like this.
The addition is with some seat.
Yes. Yes. Just some. We have to really, we just ran across this today, so we haven't really had time to, kind of map it out as to how it could work. And honestly, I would go to the contractor and say, we want something kind of like this. What do you recommend?
Is this something that we could reserve or a family could reserve for an event, or is it just first come, first serve?
We'll have to talk about that once we get to that point. We could certainly do like we do with the gazebo and have it be a rentable space. And based on its potential popularity, that might be a good place for us to go. But once we get closer to an end product, I think we should have that conversation. So don't forget. I'll try not to too. Any other comments on the pavilion or the seating?
That we will plan to have the picnic tables and other benches, other places in the park. So the vision for the pavilion, which is the 40-foot pavilion, is to keep it multi-use. So people could have a wedding in there. They could have their own little picnic. They could bring their own things and arrange it how they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. Okay. Now let's talk the fun stuff, playground. So we gave you some options that were in the packet for the playground. And don't let me forget to come back around to the turf on that. And yeah. So we sent you some ideas. We have actually done a bit of public outreach on the playground systems from the Clarkdale Jerome School. A few families from there have weighed in, and we had mixed reviews. And so what I really hope for today is that we're looking more at not the specific system, but the elements within the systems that we think are important. And because it may not be exactly the system, that's what we're hoping for. We're already working with a former with Arizona Rec has provided us with these. They're the same company who did Caballero Park. So they had reached out and said, hey, we'd like to provide, and they also have a lot of expertise in the ADA accessibility. And so they put some of these elements together for us. Let's, instead of going over, well, actually, before we go into the playground equipment, because I'm going to skip over what was in your packet, because you have something new sitting on your desk with just a few revisions from the packet. But I did want to talk about the rail rider that was on the last page of your packet. And this is the example of what we would like to put in the zipline area. It's not quite as long as I would like it to be because we have quite a large area, and I would like to maximize that. But we would be getting a very good price. And so we kind of have to weigh that. I mean, this is affordable for us, and something longer. Not only was it explained to me that for this type of system, longer isn't necessarily the best thing. The systems don't work well. And also that, yeah, I don't know what the also was, but. Yes, it fits that. And it has the elements that we were most interested in having, being the 2-track, one for ADA accessibility and one for other play.
So when you say not as long as, how long are we?
Well, this one is about, the total space that it needs is about 59 feet. And so we're looking at probably 40, 45, because there's got to be some out on the end. So it's not terrible, but I just like bigger is better, longer is better. I like it. But I think it's still going to be one of the most popular items in the park. Okay, so there's that. Any comments about the rail?
So what's on the ground, is that going to be part of the playground, the same type?
Yes.
On the end, on the drawing, it shows the pavers. Sort of having a little.
Yeah. The pavers will be outside of the safety area, and the ground surface will be wood fiber, like we have at Town Park or like we have at Caballero Park. those are actually two different products, so we would want to kind of do some looking into that as to how they hold up. The one at Town Park has held up pretty well. And so, but the Caballero Park is still pretty new, so it's kind of hard to know exactly which product is better. We didn't like the first one when they put it at Caballero Park. It was super spongy, but what better product to have underneath your playground? And especially depending on what playground type we go with some height, we definitely want to have a good surface. So in your packet, or in this new packet we just got today, the playground systems are basically the same. The 2 to 5 year old playground, we had two options. And this one, we like the elements because there's a lot of shade, first off. It's very ADA accessible. It has a long ramp. And there's just some fun elements, the little caterpillar and the wood, natural wood. We obviously, we're not going to talk specifically about colors today, but I did want to mention that you can see by most of these renderings, they're based on the town color scheme that we've been using that we use for our other park. What else do we have on that? The climbing, the cute little crawl through, and these playground areas fit within our budget. So that's always nice.
Is that, what are the little colored boxes along the railways? Or is that just decoration or what?
Yeah, those are the panels. Those are panels that we can actually have designed with elements of our natural area. So we can put animals that, have them imprint animals on there that we had a lot of flexibility, and we learned that as far as signage, there are a lot of opportunities for us with all of these systems through Little Tikes to put to customize to our area. But for that first playground, if I can draw your attention to the page with the description. Keep going. Oh, no, the one with the ADA. Yeah. Wait, where are you?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, it says I.
This one that has the little box out there. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So this is kind of a quick breakdown without going through every element in every play system, which I don't know that we want to do that. This one in particular has 8 elevated play activities total. It has elevated play activities accessible by transfer, being ADA, but not, they have platforms. The elevated play activity is accessible by ramp. There are 8. The ground level activity types are 6, and the ground level quantity of activities is 17. And pretty much all of the play systems have climbing opportunities. They have lots of slides. But I think what we were really looking for was something, first of all, Clarkdale doesn't have a toddler playground. And so we wanted something really very cool, very usable and accessible. So it would be a good opportunity for that. The swings in this system and in all systems, we would want covered like they are, and they would entail two, what do you call those, slings? Regular seats, swing seats, one ADA bucket like we have down at Caballero, and one, they call it a mommy and me or daddy and me or, auntie and me. Swing that the adult and the child can sit in it together and swing, which is really cool.
Hey, Ben, are you guys trying to get hold of us over here?
Eh?
Yes.
Maybe.
And can you speak up? We can't hear you.
Is he
You might
talking
be
to us?
getting a call.
Yeah, he might be not talking to us. Okay.
No, she can do it, but you know what?
Is there anything in particular? Well, let's see, how would, let's just run through both of the toddlers and then we can talk about the elements that you like and, or aren't that fond of. So in the next one, option 2 is very similar. These are very similar to the ones that were in your packet, just maybe a few minor changes. Shows the swings covered. That'll be the same in all of them. It has lots of animals. We would make sure that any animals that are in a play area are from our area. Yes, or something that you would find in our area. So a bear, probably not, but there's lots of shade on this one. Climbing elements, some of the comments from the families weighing in on some of these was that they didn't think that the curved monkey bars, is that one on this one? I think it is.
Yeah.
That the curved monkey bars were necessarily going to be for toddlers. But I think we have to remember that just because we say it's a toddler playground, it's, there's going to be all ages of kids playing on this as well as our big system.
I do notice the curved monkey bars on both sets. It looks like it's on the option 1 as well. But I mean, maybe that's just an element they could swap out for just a regular monkey bar, or something else.
Okay. Well, we'll jump to the breakdown. I think one of them had, the one she did, the double slide and had 3 slides, one of them being a double slide. This one that we're looking at is not the double slide. It has 3 slides, but not the double slide. So the first one had the double, and we kind of went back and forth because we have our favorites. We kind of went back and forth about that and, decided that if we have to give up, we think the double slide is cool, but if you have to give up that for something else cool that you like better, then it's not the end of the world.
Well, I like option 2 out of these two. I mean, I like all the animals and it looks like the shade's a little more distributed. I know probably some of the elements will change, but I think that's looking at the overhead view and the perspectives. I think option 2 is a little more attractive to me personally.
Yeah. Well, the ramp is slow. It's the grade that it needs to be for ADA accessible on both of these have ramps. So yeah. And so it climbs, but it's not dramatic. Yes, once you're up there, it's, unless there's a step, there might be a step. Okay, so on this one, there's 9 play activities, one more than the other. Elevated play activities accessible by transfer are 9. The accessible by ramp is 9. The ground level activity type is 6, which I think is a little lower than the other one. Total ground quantity is 13. So it's a little lower, but from an ADA accessibility, it's slightly elevated. So really it's kind of the, it's what you like the look of, or the elements within the play system. Okay. Mhm. It's the cute animals. I don't think, has anybody been to a playground in the Verde Valley that has animals like that? I think that's one thing that would be very unique to the Verde Valley in general, and to Clarkdale. We don't have any other animals.
I would be really interested in the accessibility part of that. And also shade, being a PE teacher for so long in Arizona.
Yeah.
They can't play on it because it's too hot. It doesn't matter what it looks like or how cute it is.
True.
So, are these fairly similar in price?
We don't have a price breakdown on each unit. We're just asking her to give us ideas within our budget.
Oh,
And this is what we got. And she actually created, maybe not these, but the other ones that we're going to look at for the Big Kids Playground. Carissa actually went in and kind of designed them with elements that she thought that we would like. And she knows us pretty well now. She's worked with us. And so, yeah. Any other feedback on
we get animals in option 1? Or would that just be way too
We could.
expensive?
although
Oh, okay.
I'm
mean, I-
assuming that there aren't in option 1 because of pricing. So we might need to give up something else. I mean, the logs, it does have the log, but I think this one is a tad bit bigger, longer. The ramp is longer on option 1. So what I hear you saying is make sure it's ADA accessible. There's some cute animals and lots of shade.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Next, let's go to the Big Kids Playground. Oh, by the way, we could switch out the bear for a mountain lion. Okay, the 5 to 12-year-old playground. Has some very cool elements. The feedback we had from the Clarkdale Jerome families was that there isn't anything else like that in the Verde Valley at this height, and they thought it was pretty cool. Another family was not excited about the height. So, you know, again, we had a little bit of a mixed bag. It does have, this one does have this double slide and climbing elements and some rope climbing within the system. The shade is a little different on this one, and with those panels, we're just not really sure what kind of shade we would get from those. But they build them for, you know, Arizona playgrounds, so. For afternoon sun particularly. We can find out if they're at all adjustable, although looking at the tallest tower and the way it's put on there, yeah, it might be just a shift, but we'd have to talk to Carissa about that. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shade opportunities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. And not knowing exactly how big each of those are, maybe that would, you know, help us. But I don't know that. And the slides are very tall, very long. And enclosed till you get to the end. So this particular unit, elevated play opportunities are 19. Accessible transfer, 17 options. Accessible by ramp, there are none. Ground level activities, 6, and ground level quantity overall, 14. I do want to mention we're really focused on accessibility. In talking to the school, there are not currently, at least at the Clark-Dale Jerome School, any students who are wheelchair bound. Just giving that information. Not that that doesn't mean that there won't be someday, or that there are children who go to other schools that are. Unfortunately, that's not information that's easy to get. Okay, then let's move on to option 2. This one is actually a little more expensive, but she's working to make it fit into our budget if it's what we want. It has something that we don't have, being that little, what is that called, Shell? The rock and play?
Yeah, the rock.
Yeah.
play.
Yeah. It's like a boat. But it does have a lot of climbing opportunities with the rock wall and then the ropes between the monkey bars. Are there 3 slides on this one? One is a double. And one is pretty tall, but not as tall as the one in the first option. And then there's a cool.
I think there are 5 slides in this one. That's what it looks like.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Kramer, I didn't hear you.
Oh, it looks like there's 5 slides in this one,
5
with
slides.
one being a double. Yeah.
Yeah. And that yellow, can you point to that yellow thing that has the ropes inside, Shell, that they can climb up? You know what I'm talking about? This thing.
Yeah, Yeah, Joni, count the slides right there, because I count 6. Am I
Okay.
going?
1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And the spiral one on the aerial is
Oh.
kind of hiding.
There it is. Yeah. And this is a small double slide. So you can see this one does have the accessibility. It has a lot of shade, has a lot of climbing opportunities. It has a double slide. It's a small one though. So keeping in mind, this system is for 5 to 12-year-olds. So it's covering a wide range of users.
The option 2, cheaper, but it was so much.
From the other ones, yeah. And it does, I mean, it does have transfer. I mean, the first one had transfer opportunities. It is more accessible. So this one has 16 play activities, which is about 3 less than the other. Accessible transfer 13, elevated play activities accessible by ramp are 11. The ground level activity type 9 and ground level quantity total 14. We looked at some other kind of something that came out brand new that had a lot of climbing elements, and that was pretty much it. It had a few slides, but it had that high profile that, you know, for us, we would really like this playground to be something very unique that people go, wow, that's really cool. Like we haven't seen that in the Verde Valley. So the height is one of those things that sticks out for me. I agree this one with it seems like more shade. It's obviously more accessible.
Yeah, for me, I think the height one has a lot of wow factor is driving by, but I think option number 2 is really going to be able to have a lot more use, you know, and over time, I mean, it does seem way more shaded. And I also like there are a lot more natural elements. I mean, it just seems like they kind of integrated the logs and the rocks and the trees and you know, that seems to be more part of this than the first one. You know, I like the big frog and that the boat thing looks cool. It looks like anybody could use that is kind of the idea. So I don't know. This one's really big too. I think that gets lost a little bit. While the other one is tall, this one really has a lot larger footprint, it looks like. So I like that it's a lot more accessible than the first one. I think even if we don't have a huge audience for that, I know that's really a direction that we've been trying to move towards and have more of our parks have access be a hallmark of being able to go to a park in Clarkdale. So I like option 2 for those reasons.
Kids that you pulled, because we did pull quite a lot of kids. And when you had mentioned it with the school before, you kind of made it sound like it was even, but my recollection was that it was pretty clear on the big kids playground.
Yeah.
All the kids.
Yeah.
School who were pulled.
Yes, that the tall option was the choice of the kids. And it was also the choice of some of the parents.
I wonder if we could ask on option 1 if the panels for shade, if there's options for, you know, bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, even if the panels themselves, from what we see here, could be bigger than what they look like in this picture. Because otherwise, I don't see how that shades you know. Truthfully, other than a tiny little spot on each. And depending on where the sun is at and the angle, maybe not even more.
Yeah. That's kind of my concern with that too. Although I do have to say from a maintenance perspective and longevity and, you know, the shades, the fabric shades we're going to be replacing those pretty often in Arizona, probably. They say, I think, what did we on the Caballero one, it was like 10 years. It's warranty for 10 years, but so, I mean, it's not terrible, but we could certainly see what other options and maybe find out the size of the things. And I kind of wonder, you know, with the shade, with the bigger fabric shades, depending on where the sun is, I mean, they're only going to help you when you're right underneath most of the time, or you're going to have to find that little bit of shade with those as well. So,
Having aspect to it, all that, all it's.
yeah.
New version. So.
With those.
I do just think. Yeah, I would just wonder about how the site, that's the site placement, how to decide,
Yeah.
how to orient, that's, those are basic
Mhm.
directions.
Find out about if, once the placement, if it looks like they would potentially be adjustable.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, particularly these look like they could.
yeah, ideal, right?
That'd be amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard one because I mean, I'm a little mixed. I love the height of this one, but I like some of the elements and the other that like Vice Commissioner Kramer was saying, the, you know, the natural, the, you know, the wood elements, the climbing opportunities, I think are also really cool. So it's just kind of, you know, it's a hard choice.
Not surprisingly, option one being fire is less of a footprint on the ground.
Correct.
It's according to the drawing, basically 48 by 44 feet. And option two is 61 feet by 55 feet.
And that's primarily because of the accessibility. That ramp adds that extra footprint, as well as in the toddler area as well. That unit's just a little bit smaller, but we struggled a lot with the swing situation because we wanted to have swings, but they don't fit in the big kid area, even with this smaller footprint. So we ended up just figuring out how to change the use of the one that's going into the toddler area, that it can be for big and small kids. And then someday we'll do a fundraiser and put a big swing set somewhere. Does anyone feel strongly about any particular option or element within the systems?
It's. Shape.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So when the kids are in school,
Mhm.
there's no limit to how old the kids are.
Well, I think the sign says 5 to 12. But however, we've seen grown men on the slide track at Centerville Park. So, okay, so we appreciate your comments. We'll take all of that into account and ask a few questions of our supplier. And, you know, we may or may not end up actually going with of any of these exact units. A lot of it's going to be, again, making sure that it fits into our budget. And so we're going to just keep working on that. All right. Yes, the turf, we are still working on that. So just, yes, thank you. The question was, what was the question?
Was changing the screens. So.
The question from Cynthia?
Oh, she had asked about what type of turf. What sort of seed are we going to use for the low water lawn or turf? So I don't think we have a definitive answer. on
We
that.
do not have a definitive answer on that, and it actually will not be seed, it will be sod. And we are still debating, and, you know, please feel free to weigh in on artificial turf versus sod, real grass. We are applying for a grant to get Purple Pipe, our effluent water from the wastewater treatment plant to the park. That could be a year down the road. It could be 2 years down the road before that could actually happen. And it might not happen at all. So all those considerations, we haven't landed yet on turf versus sod. Again, you know, your recommendations are always welcome. We did get a price for the difference, and it was not as different as we thought it was going to be. It was maybe 15,000 more. So, which wouldn't be in our budget. So we would have an opportunity to look for a donor potentially if we want to go with artificial turf. I know our public works team would really appreciate artificial turf. There's a lot of benefits to it. There's a lot of negatives to it. It still needs to be watered, so we would still need to put in an irrigation system because you have to clean it. So again, the jury's out on that one. And we're also, I think our contractor is going to be able to help us a lot with that decision process as well. Well, and that's another con is that the grass we can continue to water and maintain. We would make sure, in answer to Cynthia's question, we would make sure that it is low water lawn, whatever that ends up being. That, you know, it's not going to be green year round. It's probably going to be something more like Bermuda that gets green when it rains and we don't have to water it a lot. But I'm not sure that's the best choice. And we haven't gotten that definitive suggestion on what we should use. So does that answer the question? I mean,
Would parks use? Do they use?
Pardon me?
What do the Cottonwood parks?
they are sod. Yeah. It's a tough one. It really is for, you know, for all of us, taking that into consideration, the pros, the cons, the heat, you still have to water, the replacement. And I think the cost was about $89,000 for 7,500 square foot of lawn, where we want to put that. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else unless you have any other questions or direction. I actually have.
Joni, I'm sorry, Cynthia, responded when we asked her if that answered her question. Do we want to open that, go back and reopen? You
Yes, yes.
want to go ahead and open? Okay. So, she said, just FYI that the artificial turf gets too hot to walk on in the sun. And that's part of the cooling that you talked about with having to water it to cool
Right.
it and clean it, right?
Yes.
Routine watering either way.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. That's a very good point and one that we have taken into consideration too. I think it would be very nice to have an agenda item or at least a comment. Council does this. They have reports section where commissioners can actually report on anything that they're doing outside of normal meetings, I guess I want to say. I know that Commissioner Husbandstad has been involved in a lot of trail and bike, the Bicycle Advisory Commission. Commissioner Kessel's handling our volunteer program, and you all are also involved in a lot of things. I think it would be kind of cool just for public information to have those reports and add that as an agenda item where you can report out those extra things that you're spending time on as commissioners for the public to know what you're involved in. It would be a standing agenda item, yeah. And if there's not anything to report, that's okay. We just move past it. But so I would like to add that. And then also, we were hoping to have a special meeting, another special meeting at the end of this month, the 29th, if everyone is available. So we would add that on as a special meeting agenda item. And if that works for everyone, then we would not have a June meeting. Okay, okay. All right. What about the next week? You're gone.
Another day in that last week of May? Are you guys both gone that full week? Okay,
I
okay.
can't remember when I started. I think the 27th through the 2nd of June.
Okay. Then perhaps we'll look at some other dates later in June. And then we will probably not have a July meeting. That's right after the 4th of July event. But we do, the reason we wanted to have it earlier was to have a conversation about 4th of July. We probably should have got it on this one. But we thought we had a little time.
I understand we have our little library open now, the little free library, so possibly we can start bringing some books out there. Okay, that would be great.
Okay, well, with no further items, is
Thanks, everybody.